Hello, my name is Lizzie and this is Lizzie's Literary Life, and today I'm going to be bringing you through all of my ongoing series in preparation for the Squash That Series readathon. So if you have not heard of Squash That Series, you should join. It's going to be so much fun. It is a readathon hosted by Bailey from Is Bailey Reading and Kayla from Kayla Ray Reads. And I'm helping out a lot this round with spreadsheets because this is the biggest round yet. This readathon has been going on for a while. There have been several rounds in the past, like 8 rounds in the past, 7, I don't know. They've run a lot of rounds in the past, and this is the biggest one yet, where we are doing an individual competition tournament style bracket. So like, it's like a bracket or a bracket style tournament. So it's like a bracket where like you're faced off against one person and then the winner is faced off against the next winner, that kind of thing. And it's going to be so much fun. And after you're knocked out, you still get to participate as a cheerleader for the person who beat you. So you're participating the whole way through, even if you get knocked out of the actual competition. And it's just going to be so much fun. So I will leave all the information in the description, the link to Bailey's video explaining all the rules, and you can sign up from there. So I highly recommend you join. But Squash That Series is all about reading your series and finishing series and getting through series and making progress in series. So I thought today I would bring you a sort of Squash That Series TBR, except really it's just all of my unread series because there's a lot in this readathon you can't exactly plan for. Because every week, every like little mini round of the readathon, this is in January, by the way, January and the beginning of February, starting January 1st. Every week after qualifying, we're going to be playing a different kind of Squash That Series game from a previous round. So there's a lot, and those games are randomly selected. So there's a lot you can't really plan for. But I've been planning and preparing as much as I can by going through my series spreadsheet and marking off what works for what prompts, if those prompts come up, and I'm just very excited, and that's what I'm going to take you through today. So I have my series, all my ongoing series, sorted in the order of how long ago I read book 1. So like the series I started first. So the series I started first that is still ongoing is the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. There are 41 books in this series, and I have read 6 of them. And I'm going to read another one coming up because I want to get further along in this series before Squash That Series, because one of the games that we might end up playing is incentivizes reading books that are further along in series, like the number of the book in the series. So like book 7, you would get 7 points. And that's the only series where I really can do that. So I want to get further along in that one. But that is a series that I previously had actually DNF'd. And then for a previous Squash That Series round, I brought it back, and now I'm like kind of back into it. Actually, before I get into all of the series, I should say that I have 28 ongoing series, and that is not counting series that I am up to date on, and also series like Realm of the Elderlings and Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere. I'm putting the like individual series separate. So like for Brandon Sanderson, I've read the whole Mistborn Era 1, but that's not on here because Era 2 is a separate trilogy, if that makes sense. 28 unfinished series, starting with The Discworld by Terry Pratchett. Up next is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. There are 5 books out. The most recent book just came out, so I was up to date on this one. So I've read 4 of the 5 books, and the new one just came out, so I'm hoping to read that for Squash That Series. Then there's the Brown Sisters trilogy by Talia Hibbert, which is a romance series, and I read the first one in 2021 when I really was not a romance reader, but everyone was raving about this series, and so I tried it and I really didn't like it very much. It was like fine, but I just was not a romance reader, was not really prepared for it. And then I tried reading the second one and I couldn't get through it. I ended up DNFing. But it's still on here because now I'm more of a romance reader and I feel like I would actually enjoy them. So I'm hoping for, again, I've only read 1 of the 3 books and I'm hoping to continue. Up next, we have Beartown by Frederick Bachman. Again, I've only read one of these 3 books. It's a trilogy, and I sobbed when I read Beartown. So I definitely want to continue, though I feel like Beartown worked as a standalone. So I don't know how necessary the rest of the series is going to be. Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I have only read one of the 4 books that are out right now, and I've actually read that book twice. I read it in 2021, and then that's why it's so early on this list. And then I reread it recently as a buddy read, this year with my friends, and I did not like it this time around really at all. But it was the plot, it was the mystery itself that I didn't really care about. So I feel like there's potential for the rest of the series. So I am probably going to continue at least one more book. Then there's the Aunties series by Jessie Q. Sutanto, which is, the first book is Dial A for Aunties, which I read again in 2020 or early 2022, late 2021, because it was that was the year that I read all of the Goodreads Choice Fiction nominees, and that was on there. And there's a sequel to it. So it's a duology as of right now. And I think they're kind of companion-y. It was silly, it was fun, so I'm definitely down to read the sequel. That would be an easy finish a series option, though I don't know if there's a book 3 planned, but I don't think so. I have to do some research. Finish a series is a Squash That Series prompt that I'm a little scared of getting too many times, because there are some series that I'm one more book left. But if I run out of those series where I'm one more book left and then I get finished a series and I have to read multiple books, we'll see. And then there's the Dead Djinn Universe by P. Jelly Clark, which is 1 full-length novel, which I have read, and 3 short stories as of right now, and I've read 1 of those short stories. So that actually would be a good option to read those last 2 short stories and get up to date on that series. I think there's probably going to be more, so it wouldn't be finish a series. But those are short stories. They're short stories, novellas, so they would be easy and quick. And I liked the ones that I read fine. They were okay. And then there's the Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Lee Stewart. This is a childhood favorite series, or a childhood favorite book. I don't think I ever continued the series, but I loved this book as a kid. And Disney Plus made a TV show of it that was really good, and then it got canceled and removed from Disney Plus forever, so it's just gone now, which is awful. But I did reread after I watched the show. I reread book 1 and loved it. There's 5 books out, and I would love to continue that series. It's a middle grade, silly series, kind of fantasy-ish, but not really. It's like a fantasy type world where there's not actually magic. Actually, there kind of is. There's mind control, but it's sciencey magic, sort of. I don't know how to describe it, but it was fun. And then there's the Tita Rosie's Kitchen Mysteries series, which, again, I've read 1 of them. There are 3. I don't know if that's the end of the series or if there are going to be more, or if it's just a trilogy, but I read 1 of them because I found it in a little free library, years ago, and I just read it. So it was fine. I thought it was okay, but I'm definitely down to continue the series. Then we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, which is a book that I loved when I read it, but never continued the series. So I've only read 1 of the 3. And I definitely am excited to read the other 2. I think they're pretty quick and simple to read, so they're a good option for a readathon. And I loved the first one, so I'm definitely excited to read that one. And then I have The Extraordinary Adventures of the Athena Club, which is, the first book is, what's it called? The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. That's what it's called. I remember now. So The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, and then the sequel is The Mysterious Case of the Monstrous Gentlewoman, or something like that. I only read 1. This is a trilogy. The second book is very long. It's 700 pages. So if I land on longest sequel on your TBR, which is a prompt that might come up, I will be reading that for sure, because that is the longest sequel on my TBR. I liked the first one pretty well. I thought it was pretty fun. So I'm just scared of that prompt. I'm scared of getting that in a readathon and then not even being able to finish it within the week of the round. So we'll see. I hope I don't get that prompt, but also I would be excited to read that book. It's just so long. Then there's The Diviners by Libba Bray, which, again, these are pretty long. So I probably won't end up reading these for Squash That Series just because they're longer, but they're not the longest. So I wouldn't choose to read them. And the first one was just kind of fine. There's 4 books in the series. I've only read one. And I thought it was okay. It had potential. I didn't love it, but it had potential. Fantasy, historical type situation. There's the Bright Falls series by Ashley Herring Blake, which is Delilah Green Doesn't Care, Ashford Parker Doesn't Fail, and the new one is Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. I've read the first 2, so this would be an option for finish a series if I can get Iris Kelly, because it kind of came out kind of recently and is pretty popular, so I'll see if I can get it from my physical library. But I definitely am probably going to read this during Squash That series if I can get my hands on it, because it's an easy finish a series. It's a romance. It's quick. I've been in a romance mood actually lately. I haven't heard the best things about the last one. I loved Delilah Green. This is also, there's a prompt that's sequel to a 5-star, which I could totally read this for because Delilah Green was a 5-star. But I haven't heard the best things about Iris Kelly, but we'll see. We'll see if I like it. I probably will like it well enough. And then there's the 6 Tudor Queens series by Alison Weir, which again is a longer one, so I don't know if I'll end up making progress in this series during Squash That series. But there are 6 books out for the 6 queens, and I've read 4 of them, so the next one would be Catherine Howard. And I love this series. I really do. They've all been 4 or 4.5 stars, and I really just enjoy this series. But again, they're longer. They're slow paced too, because they're really historical. So I don't know if that's an option for Squash That series as much, but we'll see. And then there's the Millennium series by Stieg Larsson, which is actually, so the girl with the dragon tattoo, the girl who played with fire, and then the girl who kicked the hornet's nest. And I actually own all of them. I'm currently reading The Girl Who Played with Fire. So I will have just 1 book left, and it's an owned sequel. So if I don't have a lot of owned sequels. So if I do land on that prompt, I will probably be reading The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, which is also an option for finish a series. But it's longer, so we'll see. Then I have The Land of Elion by Patrick Carman, which is another middle grade childhood favorite that I reread the first one recently in 2022, and I thought it was kind of bad, but very nostalgic. There are 5 books in the series, and again, they're middle grade, they're short, so if I can get my hands, they're not on Libby, but if I can get my hands on the physical book 2, I definitely might read that because it was really, really quick, the first one. Then we have Fractured Fables by Alex E. Harrow, which is, the first one is A Spindle Splintered, and the second one is A Mirror Mended, and they're novellas. So again, a good option for a novella. I don't know if this series is complete or not, if it's just going to be a duology, but I think there's only 2 books out right now. I have to do some research on that. But again, that would be a super easy option for finish a series. I also, if it is a duology, I could reread book 1 and read book 2 for entire duology or trilogy. That's a prompt I'm scared of, that comes up a couple times where you have to read an entire duology or trilogy. So I'm trying to think of options that are pretty quick duologies that I could read within a week. And then we have my reread of The Kane Chronicles by Rick Riordan, another middle grade childhood favorite. I actually am putting this on hold because I want to read. I read the first one. I reread the first one. What's it called? The Red Pyramid. But I have decided I want to reread The Heroes of Olympus before I reread The Kane Chronicles. So I'm putting this on hold. So I probably won't read that one for Squash That series, but we'll see. The Wayfarers series by Becky Chambers, Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, Close and Common Orbit, etc. I've only read the first one. There's 4 of them, but I loved the first one. This is another option for a sequel to a 5-star. There's also a prompt that's second book in a series that comes up a lot, and I have a lot of second books in the series. So that's an option. I'll try to get my hands on that because I didn't like the audiobook when I tried it. I tried it for last round of Squash Out series, the audiobook, and I didn't really like it. So, like the narrator. So, I'm trying to get my hands on the physical of that. Then we have the Bellinger Sisters, the, what's it called? The first one, It Happened One Summer duology by Tessa Bailey. Another quick finish of series, just reading hook, line, and sinker. Because it's a duology, and I just read the first one. I thought it was fine. It was an okay romance, not my favorite, but I definitely will read hook, line, and sinker just to finish off the series, and that's a good option for the readathon. Then we have The Kingdom Keepers by Ridley Pearson, which is a 7-book, I think there's going to be more actually. It's another middle grade. This is Martine from Just Martine's childhood favorite series, and I've read 2 of them. They're set in Disney World. They're quick, they're fun. If I can get my hands on the 3rd one, that might be a good one there's a prompt that's series with more than 5 books. So this obviously has more than 5 books, and there's not a lot of those series so that have shorter books as well. So actually that's a really good option for that prompt if I end up with that prompt. But they're fun, they're quick, middle grade, love it. Then I have the Southern Reach trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer, Pumpkins Running Around, which is, what's the first one? The second one's called Authority, I think. The first one is like, I don't remember. But I only read the first one as a trilogy. They're sci-fi. The first one was pretty good. Annihilation, I think, is the first one. And yeah, might read it. I don't know. They were pretty short, I think. The audiobook pretty short, so an option. Oh, we have the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells, which is a great option for a quick, because they're novellas, quick ones, series with 5+ books. I've only read one of them, and I didn't love it, but I'm definitely down to give it another try and read the second one. They're quick, they're novellas, like 3-hour audiobooks. That's perfect. I definitely need to keep that in mind. And I think they're all on Scribd or Everant too, so that's good. One that I probably will not be making progress on in Squash That Series is The Expanse by James S.A. Corey, which is like a giant 9-book series of giant sci-fi space opera type books. And I read the first one and I didn't love it very much. Leviathan Wakes. But I'm definitely down to continue the series and give it a try, but they're long, so probably not during Squash That Series. We have The Books of Amba by Tasha Suri, the first one being Empire of Sand. The second one I think is like Throne of Ash or something. And I just read the first one. It's a duology, so another quick, easy finish a series. They're medium length, but finish a series audiobook, definitely possible. We have the Rosewood Chronicles by Connie Glynn, which is, I reread the first 3. It's a 5-book series, middle grade series that I loved in high school. And I reread the first 3, which I had read in high school during the last round of Squash That Series. So again, there's a prompt that's like, continue from a previous round. So could definitely read book 4 for that. But there's 2 more that I actually didn't read when I was younger, because they weren't out yet, I think. And I was just reading them as they came out, and then I lost interest. But I'll definitely read those last 2. That's good. I love them. They're so quick. They're so fun. Fantasy, middle grade, boarding school, lesbian princesses. Like, it's incredible. And then we have the Three Sisters Island trilogy by Nora Roberts. The first one being Dance Upon the Air, which I gave 1.5 stars and hated and wish I had DNF'd. But I might continue the series just because a lot of the reasons I hated it were like kind of specific to the book. And also like they're quick, they're on Scribd, on Everant. I'm just going to keep calling it Scribd, but they changed their name to Everant. So it's a possibility. And the final one that I started recently is the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb, starting with Assassin's Apprentice. This is the first trilogy in the realm of the Elderlings. I was blown away. I'm reading the second one in December, and I guess probably we'll read the third one in January, so that'll be a Squash That Series read as well. And that'll be finishing a series because it's a trilogy. So yeah. There is a prompt that's restart book 1, and so I have a bunch of series that are like kind of on hold. Like I want to reread book 1 before I continue, and I'll run through those real quick. Miss Peregrine's Peculiar Children, the Montague siblings, like the first one's A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. The Miniaturist, that's a duology that I might, if I land on an entire duology or trilogy, that's a possibility. The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, Practical Magic, Little Women, more Rick Riordan rereads, Numina by Lindsay Ellis, that's Axiom's End is the first one. That's a pretty long sci-fi, but I do want to reread the first one to continue the series. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, that's a possibility for entire duology or trilogy. And then Anne of Green Gables, I'm actually rereading the first one right now, so that'll move to my ongoing series. And yeah, that's my Squash That Series TBR. That's all the series I'm currently in the middle of. I have a spreadsheet or a page on my spreadsheet that has all of the prompts that could come up and like all of the next books and all of those series and like little check boxes to see which fits which prompts. But I'm so excited. I seriously recommend you join if you want to read down your series or just have a fun competitive readathon. It's going to be so much fun, and I've worked really hard on it. I know Bailey's worked really hard on it, getting everything ready, and so I'm just super excited, and you should join. So the link to Bailey's video will be in the description, and you can sign up from there, and I am so excited, and that's all I have to say for today. So comment down below if you're participating in Squash That Series and what are some books, series that are kind of priority TBR for that. And give this a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.